Welcome to the Wellness Reimagined. I'm your host, Shreya. Today we welcome Christine Ruch, a woman whose healing journey has become a beacon for countless others. From navigating chronic illness and a 20-year-old relationship to becoming a chef, holistic nutritionist, and transformational guide. She has woven together science, spirit, and lived experience into a powerful understanding of the body's innate intelligence. Her work centers on nervous system restoration and the profound unity of body, mind, and soul. This conversation promises to be raw, insightful, and deeply human, an exploration of how true healing begins, where we finally learn to listen. Welcome, Kristen. I'm honored to have you on my show.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be invited to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Kristen, your healing journey spans nutrition, somatics, trauma release, spirituality, and more. What was the moment when you realized the nervous system was the missing link in all of it?
The moment I realized that was the missing link was when everything that I had built in my entire life, built based on like my belief structures around what I thought healing was, which wasn't necessarily intimately what that meant. And then, yeah, the universe provided me many opportunities to meet my nervous system and heal what it was there and find my body. And then in that process, though, it wasn't actually ever really about my health, strangely, to begin with. I started this process from a totally different place to heal from a lot of tragedy and a lot of trauma in my life and not really having any understanding at that time that it would tie into the healing of my disease and then become a process of embodiment. And then through that process of embodiment, then was also then became alignment. And then in that process, then it was almost like the healing happened all by itself, all on its own, the way our bodies are designed to heal. So it was a huge awakening and an incredible journey.
Yes, it sounds really powerful. And when that realization landed, how did it shift the way you approached your own healing?
Wow, it shifted everything. I think I lived before I did this work with this belief that, everything had to be really hard. And I had to try really hard and it had to be complicated and hard and not necessarily complicated, but rather I had a lot of hypervigilance
Mm.
and I kept my lifestyle incredibly tight because if I like colored outside the lines at all, then I would have consequences. And I was living my life very diligently to keep my symptoms at bay and to keep my lifestyle humming along. And um, I didn't realize that it was a matter of all the forcing and the stress and the vigilance and the performance and the hyperachieving. I was hyperachiever. Um, a lot of forcing. And when I stopped, and when I learned how to do a lot of being and not a lot of doing, then suddenly everything unwound and changed all by itself.
Yeah, I think it sounds like this was not just a technique, but a revelation, almost like the body saying, start here. I would love to hear how that changed the pace and depth of your transformation.
I mean, I was definitely guided into this work, and it was something I like to say it found me. I didn't go searching for it. And so in a lot of ways it was kind of like divine timing. Um but mm, yeah, I mean my body just automatically said just like absolutely just stop. Everything that you're doing is just it was too much, it was just
Mm.
way too much the way I lived my life. Was just way too much. Although at the time, I didn't know that even at all. I just knew I was really I was actually really confused. I, had 3 businesses and I closed them all dramatically and suddenly, and then that just led to a lot of confusion and a lot of pain and grief on my part because I didn't really understand why I was doing that. I was pretty disconnected from all of that, and so but I do love what you said. It's not just this one thing. It's a really multi-layered way in which we go about, um, creating a new relationship with our nervous system. And I mean, the nervous system, it's not necessarily complicated, but it's multifaceted. And so it's a matter of really honoring the multifaceted nature of our nervous system and once we begin to honor that and, live in accordance to that, um, then suddenly, there's a whole bunch of other magical shifts that happen all on their own.
Yes. And also describe healing not as managing symptoms, but as responding to a calling from the body. How can someone begin distinguishing a symptom from a message?
Well, the symptoms are messages. They're the same thing. But I think that we don't necessarily it's how we label them, right? So we don't label them as a message. We label them as something's wrong with me and my body's failing me. I'm sick. We tell a story around what those symptoms are. And then we look for verification and validation for that symptom. And then that symptom becomes, a label. And then that label becomes a diagnosis. And then that diagnosis creates opportunities to develop an identity around the diagnosis. Like I have MS or I have depression or I have high blood pressure or something, whatever it is. And then you become that thing that is your your symptom and that symptom becomes an identity. So it's like we have it all kind of backwards. You know what I mean? It's not how it works at all. It is a symbol of something that is wrong, that is your body is talking to you and it is asking you to meet that and to address that. But we just have a different relationship with what that means. We don't see it as a message. We see it as a sign of like our failing or like our body's like imperfection or something like that. Do you know what I mean? We just misunderstand the role that it plays in our healing path.
Yes. And when a message feels overwhelming or unclear, what is the first gentle way to listen without fear?
Yeah, that's such a great question because I think that's where it all begins. A lot of us, I don't believe in our culture we really have a way um, of teaching people that we are not our emotion. And our emotions is just energy that flows through. We are sensing, feeling beings. And so an emotion is just a sensation of energy that passes through our body that then we identify and we create a name for that sensation. And then when we create a name for that sensation, then we create a story around that sensation. And then that builds from there instead of actually recognizing that emotion stands for energy in motion. And it is the energy that passes through our body. And it is fine to name that, right? Because we want to have a name for these sensations, but we don't need to create an identity or act from that sensation. And so I think it's about learning how to hold that sensation within you and building capacity. This is emotional capacity and learning to hold that as something that you're feeling, but not as something that you are. And recognizing that that will move through you and not necessarily identify you. And so that's a gentle process, and it's about creating allowance where you're creating capacity. You build capacity by creating this space of allowance and allowing yourself to feel all that you feel without actually reverting to the need to change it, to fix it, to identify with it, to label it as you doing something wrong or something bad or anything like that. Like all of that can be put to the rest. You don't need to do any of that. You can actually just feel the thing without without it identifying you. Does that make sense?
Yes. I think many people override these sensations daily. And I think your guidance could help them see discomfort as a communication instead of a chaos.
Yeah, for sure.
And you have explored both Eastern and Western modalities. Where do you see them harmonizing most powerfully when it comes to nervous system restoration?
Well, I think like I personally really like Eastern modalities more than Western modalities. Only because like there's an ancient tradition all over Eastern cultures, whether it's Ayurveda or whether it's Chinese medicine, that really honors and recognizes the life force within us. And and the fact that we are a holistic being. We don't do that as much in the Western culture. We have a tradition of disconnecting our body from our mind. And and so I really love Eastern modalities just because they do really place an emphasis on teaching you that how integrated we are and how what a holistic being sounds like. And also Eastern modalities also have a tradition of tapping into the energy beneath the symptoms that are expressed. And so there is a whole tradition of how these energies do become trapped in our system, get trapped in our nervous system, get trapped in our body, and that trapping of that energy in us because we don't know how to move it, we don't know how to meet it, we don't know how to feel it, then creates the disturbances in our energy field. And so that's what I think is really special about like anything from Ayurveda or traditional Chinese medicine is that you're tapping into the energy in the energy field below the actual symptom itself. And you're addressing where those energetic imbalances are within your entire state of being.
Yes. I think sometimes that contrast between approaches opens new perspective for listeners also. And
Yeah.
and also your journey became a path of meeting your truest self, your body, psyche, and like soul. For someone who feels fragmented, where does reconnection begin?
It begins exactly where I said, just like this is the whole thing. It can seem overwhelming. You're just like, oh my gosh, how do I get from where I am now, where everything feels like overwhelming and it feels like a lot to manage and you have so many questions and it feels like there's a long way to go between where you are in this particular moment in time and the other end where you're embodied and you're aligned and you're living in full alignment with your spirit and your soul and your body and your mind. You're in full alignment. It feels like a lot. And I know because I've been there. um, but I think that this is where it's so beautiful because your brain doesn't need to figure it out. And this goes back to that just the simple, simple, simple. It's so simple and it's so gentle. And it is something that your body is craving, actually. Your body is craving you to actually stop trying so hard. It sounds so counterintuitive, but but it is in a lot of ways, like, is just creating this space of allowance and creating this space of trusting and just by slow, small degrees, because it really builds on itself very, very quickly. And it seems so wild that just by starting in that one place, the body will begin to take care of its own needs and do everything that you mentally are thinking you have to do. Your body already knows what to do. You don't have to do anything. Your body wants to do it for you. This is why we are built and designed as these like incredible healing beings. Our body knows how to heal, but we mentally get in the way of it and make it more complicated than it needs to be. And now, is it a process? Yes, it is a process. Does it take time and patience? Yes, it does. But is it simple and full of love and grace and tenderness and allowance? Yes, it should feel like homecoming in a lot of ways, because your body can actually just rest. Your mind can just put down all of those stories that you tell yourself about how far away you are from the healing path or whatever that looks like to you. And and there can be this beautiful space that you just feel kind of like a big sense of rest and a big sense of relief and a big sense of like, oh, wow, I don't have to do all that. And actually, I can create this space where I don't have to do all that. And by just creating that space and returning to that space over and over and over again in slow, small degrees, um, your body just automatically will just lap it up like a puppy to water. Your body knows exactly what to do. And it's just about trusting that your body knows exactly what to do. Just like your body knows how to digest and breathe, and you know how to birth, and you know how to grieve, and your body also knows how to heal at this deep level. And your body wants unity. Your body wants to be aligned. And so we just have to get out of our own way and trust that if we create the right conditions, and just trust our body will just take care of everything else. All we have to do is just start small and begin. And then through that process too, I will say that a lot of self-love and a lot of compassion arises, because when you're able to witness your body healing itself and you're able to witness yourself healing, then there's something really powerful in the witnessing and observing. You're observing yourself and you're witnessing how your body responds in that observation. And and then that just becomes incredibly powerful in showing you how beautiful you are and your divinity. And then suddenly that's how you're starting to become more aligned, because you're full of love for yourself. Like, wow, I can't believe that my body could do this for me. And I don't know, it's really incredible.
Yes. And also, you help people with persistent health conditions find their inner healing. What is the most common belief that keeps them from trusting their body's wisdom?
Well, just that they can do it. I think that it's your own belief in your own ability to heal. I think that a lot of times in Western culture specifically as well, like we outsource our power, especially like, let's say, the more scary the condition, like an autoimmune disease or chronic illness. And we believe that like you have to go to a doctor. And I'm not saying that there isn't a need for physicians. I'm not stating that necessarily at all. But what I am stating is that we give away our power for our own healing process to happen, supported by giving that power to these physicians. And they make us believe that we're not capable of doing this on our own. When in fact, your body does know exactly how to heal. And it is a lot about this alignment. And it is a lot about your nervous system releasing the things that no longer serve you, you aligning your nervous system so it's in harmony. And and it is this weird, interesting disconnect. And this is why my work is so important. And this is why my message is so vital, because we don't understand that this is all within our power. And it doesn't matter what your health condition is, your body knows how to heal. And it's just about becoming aligned with all of these things. And it starts with the nervous system and building capacity and releasing these energetic disturbances in your energy field that you have buried within you. And trusting what I'm saying, not necessarily trusting me, but trusting your body and trusting that that you are worthy of more and that this is your only life to live and you can live in the fullness of your health and your vitality and your sovereignty and your divinity um, just in this process alone.
Yes. I think it's really powerful how one belief can be the gatekeeper to an entirely different kind of healing. And I think your insight can put listeners to imagine
Yeah,
opening for themselves.
totally. It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. You just have to want it for yourself. It starts there. Like you have to want it for yourself and you have to believe, that you're worthy of it. And what dreams did you give up when you got diagnosed with something? And you believed like that's no longer for me, that's off the table. And we all have those dreams. That's your soul's purpose in life is to go and unearth those dreams. And you are capable of all of that and more. And we've been robbed of the opportunity to step into the fullness of life. And it doesn't have to be that way. And I'm not like again, I'm not suggesting that there isn't a role for doctors to play, but the doctors need to be in service of you and your healing. You are not in service of them and their um their belief that you're not capable of this without their help or without pharmaceuticals or other things. Does that make sense? It's like it's where the balance of power lies, and the balance of power lies in your sovereignty.
Yes, absolutely true what you said. And this is a wonderful conversation with you. And if after this my listeners want to connect with you, then what's the best way?
Yeah, find me on my website. My email address is on there. You can email me. You can schedule a call with me and we can just explore these things if you feel called to deepen your relationship with yourself. And then I also I have a Substack where I just write all about healing and I write about the nervous system and things like that. So you can explore my work and my viewpoints on my Substack. And yeah, there's lots of ways you can find me. I'm infinitely available.
Yes, and I will make sure to attach all these details and links below so that the listeners can find them easily and get in touch with you. And thank you, Kristen, for bringing such depth, clarity, and lived truth to this conversation. And your journey shows that healing is not merely a physical pursuit, but it's an awakening of the entire self. And to all my listeners, let this be a reminder that your body is not obstacle but an orator. When you slow down and listen, you tap into a well of intelligence that has been guiding you all along. If today's conversation starts something in you, honor it. Your healing begins with that first moment of genuine presence. And don't forget to hit the follow button, subscribe, and also feel free to share your thoughts because your ears deserve premium content. Thank you.